So, you want to own a gas station? From the road, the business looks almost automatic. Cars arrive, numbers spin on the dispenser, and every driver leaves after spending $30, $40, or $60. But the station does not keep anything close to the amount shown on the receipt, because most of that money immediately belongs to fuel suppliers, tax authorities, card networks, employees, lenders, utilities, and equipment vendors. This breakdown will show what you may actually be buying, how the operation earns money, where the cash disappears, and why a crowded forecourt can still produce disappointing owner income. The first mistake is thinking that every owner controls the same asset. One operator may own the land, building tanks, pumps, store, and inventory. Another may lease the property while owning only the operating company. A third may run a branded site under a fuel supply agreement. A fourth may manage a company-owned location for wages or a bonus. A real estate investor may own the parcel under a triple net lease while somebody else handles customers, staffing, inventory, and fuel. Those arrangements can display the same logo yet create completely different cash flow. That distinction matters before anyone discusses price. Buying the real estate can provide control and potential equity. But it also brings a mortgage, property tax, repairs, environmental exposure, and a larger capital requirement. Leasing lowers the initial property commitment, but rent becomes a fixed monthly claim, and the operator may also carry taxes, insurance, maintenance, or tank obligations. A branded supply agreement may improve recognition and supply reliability, but it can limit fuel sources, presentation, and strategy. The contract, not the sign, tells you what you truly own. Start with the physical site. Below the pavement are underground tanks, product lines, monitoring equipment, spill control components, and systems that measure inventory and identify unexplained losses. Above ground are dispensers, canopy, lighting, signs, pavement, drainage, security equipment, utilities, and the store. Inside may be refrigeration, coffee, and cooking equipment, point-of-sale terminals, lottery hardware, shelving, restrooms, and a back office. Every component has a useful life, and several are expensive enough to change an acquisition decision. Before we go deeper, this is 2D animated business ownership economics, where we separate impressive sales numbers from the money an owner can realistically keep. With a gas station, that separation is essential because the business combines petroleum, retail, convenience, retail, food service, regulated underground infrastructure, commercial real estate, payment processing, and 24-hour operations on one parcel of land. This is why a universal startup figure is misleading. Taking over a leased operation with usable equipment may still require a significant capital package once deposits. Licenses, opening inventory, fuel, payroll reserves, insurance, and working capital are included. Purchasing the land and improvements can push the transaction much higher. Building new ads, land, engineering, zoning, utilities, tank installation, environmental controls, construction, paving, canopy work, store equipment, and carrying costs before opening. The final budget can rise quickly, with the total driven by land, store size, construction prices, tank configuration, and access. The correct question is not how much does a gas station cost? It is which assets, contracts, liabilities, and future obligations are included. A low asking price may exclude the real estate. An attractive property may have weak fuel volume. A clean-looking store may need dispenser, refrigeration, or pavement replacement. A profitable operation may depend on an owner working 60 hours a week without charging a market salary. Normalize those details, and the apparent bargain can disappear. Financing also changes the economics. Lenders examine historical cash flow, property value, environmental reports, equipment, life, competition, traffic, borrower experience, and cash remaining after debt payments. A station can show positive operating profit and still leave little distributable cash if heavily financed. Principal builds equity, but it still uses cash. Interest reduces profit. Renovations require more capital. Working capital must remain available because fuel deliveries, payroll, taxes, and card settlements do not always occur together. Supply contracts deserve their own review. A branded dealer may receive recognizable signage, marketing support, proprietary fuel additives, and priority within a distributor's network. But the agreement may require exclusive purchasing, minimum volumes, image standards, equipment upgrades, or long terms. An unbranded operator may shop among suppliers and respond more flexibly to rack prices, yet supply can become less predictable during disruptions. Neither model is automatically superior. The buyer must compare delivered fuel cost, freight, rebates, contract duration, termination rights, required capital work, and who owns the branding equipment. A favorable margin today can be outweighed by an inflexible contract tomorrow. Now follow 1 gallon. Crude oil moves to a refinery. Finished gasoline moves to regional terminals, and tanker trucks deliver it to retail tanks. The pump price reflects crude oil, refining, distribution and marketing, taxes, and retail margin. Those shares move over time. When wholesale prices rise quickly, the operator must pay more to replace inventory before all higher-priced gallons are sold, creating a cash flow squeeze even as the price board climbs. The federal tax on gasoline is 18.4 cents per gallon, and state and local charges vary widely. None of that tax is ordinary operating revenue for the station. The same is true for most of the wholesale fuel cost. The amount that matters to the retailer is the cents per gallon gross margin after the fuel cost, not the total selling price. In 2025, NACS reported an average gasoline gross margin of 39.7 cents per gallon before station-level expenses, with estimated retailer expenses of roughly 20 to 25 cents per gallon and card fees around 8 cents per gallon. Those figures are industry benchmarks, not a promise for any one location. That benchmark reveals the contradiction. A driver buying 12 gallons may see a receipt above $35, while the station's gross fuel margin is only a few dollars before payment fees, labor, electricity, maintenance, insurance, shrinkage, and debt service. A wholesale spike can compress the spread if competitors delay raising prices. A price war can do the same. The customer sees a large sale, the operator sees a narrow spread multiplied by volume. Fuel pricing is unusually transparent. Drivers can compare signs across an intersection, and digital apps make comparison easier. A difference of a few cents can redirect price-sensitive traffic where several stations share a corridor. The operator must choose between protecting margin and protecting gallons. Pricing too high may reduce volume and store visits. Pricing too low can create busy pumps that contribute little toward fixed costs. The right decision depends on competition, replacement cost, customer mix, and the value of each store visit. Volume still matters because thin margins need repetition. A station selling 40,000 gallons monthly is not simply a smaller version of one selling 150,000. Both may need similar permits, insurance, core equipment, lighting, and management. But the busier site spreads fixed costs across more transactions. Yet if it discounts aggressively, or nearly every customer pays at the pump and leaves, high gallon count may not become strong operating profit. The store changes the equation. NAS reported that fuel represented 65% of total U.S. convenience store sales dollars in 2025, but only 38.8% of gross profit dollars. That means inside merchandise and food service produced a much larger share of gross profit than their share of revenue. The industry's economics are not saying fuel is unimportant. Fuel creates frequency, visibility, and a reason to enter the property. But the higher margin transaction often happens after the customer parks and walks through the door. Inside the store, categories behave differently. Drinks, snacks, tobacco, groceries, alcohol where permitted. Lottery products and prepared food carry different margins, theft risks, spoilage, labor needs, and customer patterns. Shelf-stable goods require little labor but tie up inventory. Fresh food may earn more gross profit but needs equipment, training, temperature control, cleaning, and waste management. Coffee can be attractive, yet machinery, supplies, water quality, and staffing still matter. High gross margin does not mean costless profit. Inventory creates another cash flow puzzle. The store must pay for beverages, snacks, tobacco products, food ingredients, cleaning supplies, and packaging before all of those items are sold. Fast-moving products free cash quickly. Slow items occupy shelf space and working capital. Promotions can increase units while lowering gross profit. Bulk purchasing may reduce cost but increase spoilage or theft exposure. Operators therefore study sales by item, inventory turns, waste vendor allowances, and the contribution earned from each foot of shelf space. A full store is not necessarily a productive store. If too much cash is trapped in products, customers rarely buy. Food service has become especially important. NACS reported that food service accounted for 28.5% of in-store sales and 38.9% of in-store gross margin dollars in 2025. That helps explain why many successful convenience operators invest in kitchens, made-to-order systems, breakfast items, pizza, sandwiches, and proprietary drinks, instead of relying only on packaged snacks. But adding food changes the business. The owner is now managing part of a restaurant, food safety, labor scheduling, recipe consistency, waste, equipment, downtime, and speed of service. A neglected food counter can destroy value as quickly as a good program creates it. Other revenue streams can help, but none is automatic profit. A car wash can use the same traffic, yet construction, water, chemicals, repairs, weather, and competition affect returns. An ATM provides fee income but needs cash management, security, and service. Lottery sales may create visits where legal parcel lockers, air machines, propane exchange, and kiosks may add smaller amounts. Each addition must earn enough incremental gross profit to justify its space, labor, capital, and risk. Electric vehicle charging deserves the same discipline. A charger may require utility coordination, transformers, trenching, switchgear, network service, permits, accessible parking, and demand charge analysis. Federal NEVI funding can cover up to 80% of eligible costs through state programs, but corridor rules, uptime standards, procurement, and awards matter. The opportunity may be longer customer dwell time. The risk is expensive equipment with low utilization or weak charging margins. Now look at operating expenses. Payroll is usually among the largest. A location open all day must cover nights, weekends, holidays, breaks, absences, training, and management. One employee cannot safely receive deliveries, prepare food, clean restrooms, watch the forecourt, stock shelves, handle a line, and respond to equipment problems at once. Understaffing can create theft, poor service, dirty facilities, safety problems, and lost customers. Overstaffing raises break-even. Utilities are another constant drain. Refrigeration, freezers, canopy lights, signs, ventilation, heating, air conditioning, hot water, cooking equipment, and wash machinery can create a meaningful bill. Energy use varies by climate, building age, efficiency, hours, and local rates. So a national average should not be inserted blindly. A buyer needs the actual utility history and should check whether deferred maintenance is making the building unusually expensive. Maintenance is unavoidable because mechanical systems face weather, vehicles, chemicals, vibration, and constant use. Dispensers fail. Hoses wear out. Card readers need upgrades. Refrigeration compressors stop. Coffee machines scale up. Roofs leak. Pavement cracks. Tank monitoring systems require service. Some repairs cost hundreds. Others cost tens of thousands. A responsible model separates routine maintenance from capital expenditure and reserves money for major replacements. Payment. Processing deserves attention because fees apply to the customer's total purchase, not the retailer's profit. When fuel prices rise, transaction values and card expense can increase even if retail margin does not. A cash discount may help, but it introduces signage, pricing, disclosure, point of sale, and state law considerations. Operators also manage chargebacks, network compliance, and payment security. Skimming and data theft can create expense, customer distrust, and disruption even when the owner did not commit the fraud. Shrinkage includes shoplifting, employee theft, counting errors, damaged goods, expired food, vendor discrepancies, register mistakes, and fuel variance. Small percentages matter when sales are large. A busy store can quietly lose thousands through weak controls. Effective operators use cameras, inventory counts, exception reports, restricted access, documented receiving, training, and careful cash procedures. Ignoring shrinkage turns gross profit into an unexplained hole. Insurance and security costs, also reflect the unusual combination of risks. The property may need general liability, property, business interruption, workers' compensation, crime, cyber, equipment, breakdown, and pollution-related coverage, with exclusions and deductibles that deserve close reading. 24/0 sites also manage robbery risk, employee safety, exterior lighting, emergency procedures, and cash handling. Cameras help, but they do not replace training, staffing, and disciplined deposits. An insurance quote that looks inexpensive may exclude the event most capable of damaging the balance sheet. Buyers should compare coverage definitions, not merely premiums, and should confirm whether older tanks, prior releases, food service, car washes, or charging equipment change the policy. Then comes the risk buried underground. Federal UST rules require regulated owners and operators to register systems, meet release detection standards, protect against spills, overfills, and corrosion, maintain records, perform periodic checks, and demonstrate financial responsibility. States may impose additional requirements. These obligations continue whether fuel margins are strong or weak. Compliance is part of the operating model, not a one-time permit obtained at opening. The scale of historical contamination explains serious environmental review. EPA reported more than 583,000 confirmed releases from federally regulated underground tanks as of March 2026, with roughly 53,000 still awaiting completed cleanup. That does not mean every old station is contaminated or every buyer pays every historical cost. It means a purchase should be examined by qualified environmental and legal professionals, including tank age, testing history, releases closure records, insurance, indemnities, state funds, and assessment limits. A clean report reduces uncertainty. It does not erase underground risk. Contamination may be localized, migrated, or require further sampling. Responsibility can depend on federal and state law, ownership history, operation contract language, and financial assurance programs. The buyer must understand the seller's promises, insurance exclusions, and what happens if contamination appears after closing. The cheapest station may be cheap for a rational reason. Location is the next major variable, but good location must be measurable. Traffic count matters, yet access can matter more. A station beside a busy road may perform poorly if drivers cannot turn in safely or exit toward their destination. Medians turn restrictions, signals, curb cuts, visibility, grade changes, and construction alter capture rate. A corner can be valuable because traffic stops. A mid-block parcel may need stronger pricing or a better store to overcome difficult access. Surrounding demand generators also matter. Commuter routes create peaks. Housing supports repeat local visits. Employers, schools, warehouses, tourist corridors, highway ramps, hospitals, and late-night businesses create different rhythms. Competition should be studied by more than counting signs. One rival may have cheaper fuel but a weak store. Another may dominate food and loyalty. A warehouse club may use fuel as a membership benefit. The owner must understand why customers choose each site. A station's break-even point is the fuel margin, inside gross profit, and other contribution needed to cover payroll, utilities, insurance, maintenance, rent or interest, management, software, professional fees, and losses. It moves whenever wholesale spreads, staffing, product mix, or volume changes. Tracking only sales hides the warning. Tracking contribution by category shows whether one profitable area subsidizes another and whether a promotion creates profit or merely activity. Marcus is reviewing a suburban station offered with real estate and a bank loan. He builds a simplified monthly model instead of accepting the revenue headline. He assumes 100,000 gallons at a 38-cent fuel gross margin, producing $38,000. He adds $120,000 of inside sales at an illustrative 38% gross margin, producing $45,600, plus $4,000 from a wash and other services. The model shows $87,600 of gross profit, not $200,000 or $300,000 of income. Marcus subtracts an illustrative $68,000 for payroll, utilities, remaining processing costs, repairs, insurance, property expense, administration, shrinkage, and a manager's salary. That leaves $19,600 of operating profit before interest, principal, income taxes, and major replacements. If monthly interest is $6,000 and principal is $7,000, cash after debt service falls to $6,600. This is not a forecast or a national average. It shows why debt, management, labor, and category margins belong in the calculation before anyone calls cash owner earnings. The model also reveals sensitivity. If fuel margin falls 5 cents, monthly gross profit drops $5,000 at that volume. If inside sales decline 10%, while margin holds, another $4,560 disappears. Together, those changes consume most modeled cash after debt service. Improving product mix, reducing waste, growing food sales, or adding profitable wash memberships can strengthen contribution without depending entirely on more gallons. The owner manages several small levers because none is guaranteed. Owner operation versus hired management creates another hidden difference. An owner working shifts may appear to earn more because the business does not pay a general manager. But part of that profit is labor compensation. To compare the station with another investment or estimate resale value, statements should include a market cost for replacing the owner's work. A managed station may show lower profit, but a more transferable system. An owner-operated station may provide acceptable income while remaining hard to scale. Resale value depends on more than sales. Buyers care about normalized cash flow, property condition, fuel volume, inside performance, lease term, supply agreements, environmental records, equipment age, competition, road plans, and dependence on one owner. Real estate may add value only if the site remains useful and liabilities are understood. A long lease can protect occupancy or burden the operation if rent is too high. A brand can help traffic or restrict flexibility. Every advantage has conditions. Successful ownership usually means disciplined purchasing, daily fuel reconciliation, clean facilities, reliable equipment, safe food handling, thoughtful staffing, competitive pricing, strong category management, and cash reserves for repairs or margin compression. It means knowing which customers buy only fuel and which enter the store. It means watching gross profit dollars instead of revenue and treating environmental compliance, security, and maintenance as core operations. A good station can generate meaningful income and valuable real estate, but it is not passive, and it is not automatically profitable because cars need fuel. A weak site, expensive lease, poor store, heavy debt load, aging equipment, or environmental problem can overwhelm impressive sales. A strong site with disciplined operations, useful food service, controlled labor, and multiple well-chosen revenue streams can perform much better. The realistic result is a range, not a guaranteed annual paycheck. This video is educational. Costs, regulations, taxes, margins, financing terms, and environmental responsibilities vary by state, site, contract, and year. Anyone considering a real purchase should verify the records independently and work with the appropriate professionals, which may include a CPA, attorney, lender, environmental consultant, insurance advisor, and experienced industry specialist. A seller's summary and a commercial listing are starting points, not due diligence. The next time you stop at a gas station, ignore the pump total for a moment. Notice access, traffic flow, dispenser condition, store size, food, refrigeration, staffing, the wash, and property age. The visible fuel sale may be the largest number, but it is only one layer. The owner controls a complicated machine that converts traffic into cents per gallon, store gross profit, recurring expenses, debt payments, and risk. The pumps attract attention. The entire system decides whether ownership pays.